show.
That's the thumbnail because we are live.
So
All the time.
All the time.
At
All
Chris's house. We
Excellent.
still need to practice that song
You
because
need to practice it. I'm getting it right. You don't know the fucking song.
I gotta watch Wayne's World again. Chris, you have Wayne's World on DVD?
Of course.
Yeah,
Nice.
Wayne's World 1 and 2. And I think it's really like, if you want to help me with this, Ariane, if you want to put Bohemian Rhapsody, a part of the headbanging, we should do that at some part of the show.
I just don't want to get copyright infringement crap and have our video taken down.
Oh, fuck.
See, that's why I have Adam on this show. He helps me with those kind of things.
Cool. So forget about that plan. But yeah,
We're trying to make that YouTube money.
Yeah.
But we can go like dun 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 dun. Oh god! I got this like fucking glass bead on my head that for the second time in 5 minutes has fucking knocked me in the teeth. I can't do this anymore.
This is what happens when we go live, folks.
I'm gonna knock my tooth one day from that glass bead.
So if you're tuning in and you know who me and Germ are, but you've never actually seen Chris Dyer, if you've watched a few of our podcasts, obviously you've heard us talk about him, but this is the man himself in the flesh. And we're really happy to have you on today.
Brought to you by Sevia, 0 calories. From
Sponsor me. Send me. I'll give you my address. DM me.
There you go. So
What's up, guys?
we're super excited to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to chat with us about what it's like to be a working artist. And
Yeah, totally. I'm a big fan of the Arty Time show. I've watched all the episodes.
awesome. That's amazing.
All 3 of them, or is there 4?
There's
by now?
4 now. Yeah, this will be number 5. Like
Oh,
a full one for each finger and a thumb.
That
This episode's the thumb.
And I want to sort of point out that we're right now. Adam's leading the whole thing, and at the beginning, you were like not even sure about doing a podcast. He was talking about how he has butterflies in his stomach, and now he's basically like wrangling us to have the show. You know?
Yeah, I was very nervous talking on camera and everything the first show or 2, and especially even before we started
Now
recording.
he's a podcast superstar.
That's I don't know about superstar, but I don't feel super nervous anymore. I actually feel really excited because mainly because all the feedback you folks who watch give us, because you're like I'm getting amazing feedback about what we're doing. You know, there's all kinds of good comments. We've already got fan mail. Like people are really learning from what we're talking
We have
about.
merch.
Yeah,
We have merch that sells.
yeah.
Where's my t-shirt? Where's my I'm gonna die t-shirt?
You're gonna die t-shirt. Yeah, we should have brought him one, eh?
Yeah, man.
Okay, we're not that good with the merch yet.
Yeah, we're actually out of stock on the You're Gonna Die shirts, but there are new ones coming. So like, yeah, they'll be back in stock within a week.
Okay, but why did you want to do this podcast? What was your point?
Why did I want to do this podcast?
Why did you have to overcome the hurdle of this and all that stuff? What was at the other end of that rainbow?
Well, for me personally, I was always really nervous about doing any type of videos and talking into a camera, especially by myself in my studio. Like Germ does all these stories, and I hate talking to myself in a camera when I'm alone. So at least getting used to talking into a camera, you know, with Germ and doing these podcasts is giving me a lot more comfort in that end. And you know, when you're an artist, especially learning how to make a career out of it, you have to learn a lot.
Something that I teach in my workshops is to my students is that if you really want to do learn how to do something that you've never done before, the way to learn how to do it is by doing it.
Mhm.
You know,
As scary as it is.
there was a lot of jobs that came to me throughout the years where I'm like, hey, paint this mural. And I'm like, well, I don't paint murals. Like, I can't take this job. And I would just pass it on to my brother or somebody else. Or, hey, teach our workshops. Like, well, I don't teach workshops. Or, like, do this or do that. Like, here's the building. Paint the building. I was like, whoa, like, how come I'm going to paint the building? And then at one point, I was like, fuck it. I got to just kind of, like, learn how to do these things. You know, I've never painted a car. But when they come to me and they ask me if I can paint their car, I'm going to just be like, yes, I can paint the car. And then I'll learn as I'm doing it. And you try your best. And usually things still come out nicely. And then once you got it done, it's like, okay, I can do it. You get enough confidence. And then you keep on doing it. And you get better and better from the experience of
Now, you're experienced in documenting with a camera, and that's why it's not foreign to you. You think it's normal. How long have you been filming for? And talking into a camera solo?
My first video that I did officially as a project, I was 8 years old. It was called Skate or Die. It wasn't Skate or Die. It was Skate or Live or Skate or something.
It's Peru.
That's in Peru. I was in Peru. It was the 80s. And we were skateboarders, and it was a giant camcorder thing. And I would film my friends and then edit it, and I would make these little drawings for the little sections. Like a ramp section.
It's edited on 2 VCRs?
No, back then, I think you just kind of like film it as you go. I don't think
Stop the tape, rewind the tape, record on the tape.
Yeah, I was doing the VCRs more like the late 90s with Skater Bale. But yeah, that 80s video was probably just like, okay, here, film this title, and then I would film my friends. Even if they landed a trick or failed, that was the video.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, now let's go to the ramp and put the sign for the ramp that had like a little illustration, and then we'd all, try to go down the ramp and fall, and that was the video.
I think one of the things that stands out the most in your career is your documentation. And it starts so young. It starts at 8 years old, but then it goes into a documentary. You don't know, this is a Chris Dyer documentary on YouTube. Just type in Chris Dyer documentary.
Positive
He
creation.
had physical DVD hard copies. That's how I got mine.
Yeah, me too.
Like 2000.
Yeah, and now, while you're plugging my stuff, now I have a series of videos called the Art Ventures, which is a travel video of me going to different places and doing my art, but also exploring the culture and the different artists and things. So I just dropped Australia yesterday. So it's a half an hour piece about like me doing murals at music festivals in Australia, teaching workshops, and meeting other artists and the culture of that place. So it's not all about me. It's about like what I experienced. And me in my documentary, it's the story of me, but then I explore all these
Adam's in the
subcultures.
documentary.
Yeah, I'm actually in Chris's documentary a long time before I started painting myself, so you get to see me all dressed up in a suit and tie. Chris actually wanted me to be in his documentary because he recruited me to be the corporate guy.
I need a normal person.
Yeah,
Wear a suit and tie.
A normal person, an alcoholic cokehead. But okay, I guess if that was normal, then all right.
It was
More
hard for the
normal
course
than-
in Montreal.
More normal than the people in my existence, but then you turned on to my side. And now you're a freaky artist yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's part of why you've come up in this podcast a few times before, is because I know for me, and I think Germ feels the same way, is that you've been a really influential person in my life and in my art career. And part of that is your focus on the business end of it. You're not afraid to focus on the business end of it. I meet so many artists who are afraid to even call what they're doing a business, or to use words like sales and marketing and things like that. To them, when you start talking like that, a lot of people start to feel like you're not being a real artist anymore. And I'm of the belief system that the more you focus on that, the more of a real artist you are. Because if you're just making art as a hobby, like, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a desire to make your art into a career, then you got to learn all that business side of it. You got to learn how to make a living.
Well, it's a sketchy kind of like fine line to walk, because you don't want to start talking about money, or it's like, oh, you're doing it for the money and you cheapen the art, which the art's just the expression of the soul, and I got to do that either way. But I want to live a comfortable, abundant life of freedom, which is the most important thing, and doing whatever the fuck I want. I want to go. I want to eat healthy food that I want to eat. I want to, I want to do the art that I choose, not the art that I got to do as a job. So it's important to make money to liberate ourselves. But it's tricky to talk about it. I made a post yesterday or a couple days ago, me and Ariane in the office, and I'm talking about like, you fart. Somebody farted. Maybe it was me. And I'm talking about like the importance of working hard in the office and making money. And I was really nervous about it, because I'm like, oh, people are gonna think that I'm more focused on the money. But I made the point of saying like, no, this is important that we break with this stupid lie that the society has for us, that the artist has to be a starving artist. Like, oh, you're gonna be an artist, oh, you're gonna be broke. That's so cute of you, want to be an artist and follow your heart, but like, oh, I feel bad for you, now you're gonna live in poverty. And it's like, fuck that shit, yo. Like, we deserve money as much as any other job, maybe even more, because art makes the world. Everything we see around us is artists and creative people that visualize for humans to live in a more beautiful place. Why do should we live in poverty? We should be rewarded as anything else. And positive artists like yourselves, we're creating art that wants to liberate the people, that wants to make a better world. We deserve to live in comfort and abundance. And when we feel that the servants inside us, we're going to keep on attracting it and be in that vibration.
Well, I think that's the main point, is that the outside world is a manifestation of your inside beliefs. So if you believe that you have to live in poverty to be an artist, that's what the world is going to give you. And if you start to believe that you're going to live in abundance and success, then those things gravitate towards you and you think like a successful person. So it's really important that in any business that you may have to believe that you're going to be successful, because that puts you in the mindset of doing successful moves, which makes successful things happen, which renders you successful.
And that's one of the main reasons that I want to do this podcast, is I want to show artists that don't have that belief in themselves yet, that it doesn't have to be a life of poverty and starving and that kind of thing. I mean, I painted my first painting when I was 31, and by the time I was 34, I was working full-time as an artist. I did have to make some sacrifices. I did have to go through, I still have to make some sacrifices compared to, what a lot of other people define as successful. Like, I don't drive a car. I save a ton of money by not driving a car. Instead of driving a car, I have my own business. So, like, for now, I'm still at that point where I couldn't afford a car, but in a few more years, I will be able to. And like, that's why we're documenting this. We want to show you that you can grow from, it's like any other business. Any other business you start at the beginning, it's probably not going to be a success right away. You've got to work hard. You've got to put money into it. You've got to put time into it. You've got to make some mistakes. You've got to learn from some mistakes that you make and decide to keep going, and don't give up after you make those mistakes.
There's a saying in the entrepreneurial world that it takes 9 years to make a business, and the only people that succeed are the people who overcome the 9 years. People who stay true, they stay consistent, and they stay full of faith and belief that it was going to work out. How long did it take for you until you were successful?
Depends on the
your level of
definition of what success is. But for me, I decided for myself, my level of success would be when I would pay all of my bills and my own rent from art alone. That took me 8 years. By now I'm at like year 15 or 16 since I got out of school, and things are going pretty good. So it's just like, once you pass that level of success, I always call it cherries on top, Like, life is a fucking sundae of enjoyment, and it's just like more chocolate sauce and cherries, and of course there's sacrifices. You can't get everything you want. You gotta lock yourself in the office some days and like reply a million emails and do things that are not so fun. But when you compare it to some other life of slavitude, we just gotta give thanks every day. And when you're in that state of gratitude for following your own dreams and passions, it's not even work anymore. It's all just kind of like, I get up in the mornings like, how am I gonna crush today? Like, how am I gonna get that dream and make it even better and more beautiful?
That's beautiful.
Just be stoked. And
one thing,
spread the stoke to your friends around you.
Well, you spread it one thing to me and Adam, which was the knowledge of, if you want to do this full time, you got to start doing it full time. So for those 8 years, were you doing it full time?
Yeah. I got out of school and I was like, I can't get a peasant job. Actually, while I was in college, I got fired from one of those jobs where I called them peasant jobs because I felt like a peasant. It was like a call center. I was selling yellow pages, and I got fired because I joked with a woman on the phone. She asked me like, hey, you got an interesting accent. Where are you from? It's like, oh, well, I grew up in Peru. Like, oh, what are you doing in Canada and stuff? Like, oh, Amerisource Publications threw a net on me and captured me and took me here, and they got me working for them, and they thought that joke was rude, and they fired me for that. And when I got fired, I was like, this shit's humiliating, man. Like, what am I doing selling yellow pages for businesses? I'm so special. I shouldn't be wasting my time and energy on some other stupid shit that doesn't matter. And on top of that, they're firing me for it. I'm not even good enough for them. I never want to do a job that I don't believe in anymore. After that, I got out of school. The year after that, it's like, okay, I got to make sure I can find money till my art career works out. This stevia 0 calories soda is making me kind of pasty in my throat. So I tried to look for a million things where I could make money without having to get a job that killed my soul and took away my time. And in the end, I was on welfare for a few years, but it was entrepreneurial welfare where the government knows that I'm fresh out of school, I don't have any clients, and they give me $500 a month. So you try to make a living on $500 a month for many years. It's like, small apartment, little food, and all I'm doing is working all day, being like, I gotta make this art thing happen. I gotta make this art thing happen because everything's very.
And you made neo-human evolution in that time.
Yeah, well, I had the time to just sit home and paint nonstop. Thank you so much, dear. And and figure it out and send my art to magazines. And that was before social media was really happening. So it was all about getting in magazines and just get my art out there, do every group exhibition I could, figure it out. And when I needed money, I used the credit cards. And that's a point I teach a lot in my workshop is capital. Where are you getting the capital to invest into your business? And
it's getting businessy here. Where are you getting the capital?
Well,
what's your revenue?
Yeah.
Well, capital is what you invest into, like even just existing, like you gotta eat, you gotta survive to do this art, to get it out there. Where's that money coming from? At the beginning, could be your parents, or it could be like a patron that believes in you. That's like, I believe in your art, here's some money, or they might like even buy your art. You were my patron at the beginning. You were buying some of my paintings at the beginning, and that money was giving me money to pay my rent and keep on painting bigger, even better paintings. So it's important to find that.
And one of the main reasons I supported Chris is back in the day when I first started supporting him with buying his art. First of all, I loved his art. So I wasn't only supporting Chris, I was buying cool shit for myself. But like a big reason why I kept buying more art from Chris is because when I would buy art from him, he would straight up tell me like, nice, thanks, you helped me pay down my credit card. Now I can do this next trip. And then through it, like before it was social media, it was through his emails. I'd get his emails and I'd see him on his next trip. And I knew that I helped make that happen. So like it was really amazing to see that. And that's why I think that especially today with social media being so prevalent, when you support an artist, you're not just supporting an artist, you're literally buying a better world because you can see what the artists do. You can see them turn it into new art or bigger art or go on a trip or invest in a new, like Germ's been making toys lately with his 3D printer. He got a 3D printer with some money that people bought art from him, including me. And I got one of his first 3D printed toys now, and that's an amazing for my art collection. But like I'm literally seeing what happens with the money I do. It turns into these amazing things that these guys do, and that feels amazing. Because it's not, and then I'll go read the comments on their posts and I'll see like, oh, all these other people are stoked on what they're doing and all these other people are inspired. So it's not just helping Chris or Germ or me if you're buying my art, it's helping all our fans and all the people that follow us on social media, and then they might share it and they might, inspire some of their friends. So it's like this huge ripple effect that happens.
We're spreading the stoke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, spreading good vibes and happiness and belief that we could all just be happy. But back to that story about how you met me. The way you met me is you found an article in the newspaper.
Yes.
From all places,
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first couple of years. It was like, I gotta let everybody know that I exist in whatever means I can. Since there was no social media, it's like, I gotta be in every single group show. And through one of those group shows, I got an article in the newspaper. They came to my house, they took a photograph, and then all of a sudden Adam's opening his newspaper. In the days that people would read newspapers, and there's like a dread dude sitting Lotus with a bunch of skateboards around him.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that grabbed your attention or something.
It was specifically the Progressive Evolution #2 was on the ground in front of you, and I couldn't make out the design on it, but I could see the yin-yang in the middle, and that made me curious to go check your website, and the website was linked in, not linked, but the website address was in the newspaper, so I went to go type it in, and I'll be honest, it took me like 6 months to reach out to Chris. And here's something I want to get to as far as a business tip for you guys. One of the main reasons I did not reach out to him sooner was Chris didn't have prices displayed for his art. So I had no idea if your art was $10,000 or $200, or I was really nervous about getting in touch with Chris because I saw him in the news. I saw him in the newspaper. In my mind, he was like this famous dude. Meanwhile, he's on welfare at the time. But I was nervous, I never dealt with buying art before. I never dealt with an artist. I didn't really know anyone who was working as an artist. I knew that art was expensive. I knew that, I saw artists on TV, I saw, making fun of contemporary art and, things like that. So I was really nervous about reaching out to him. I finally did. I finally got the courage to reach out to him, and it ended up I could more or less afford his art, and I did. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is if you want to make a career as an artist, it's really important to price your art. Because after somebody falls in love with your piece by seeing it visually and they're like, I really want that. If they want to buy it, the next thing they're going to need to know is the price. And if you make them reach out to you, there's a million reasons why somebody can be too shy to ask you a price. They could be like me and just assume like, oh, this guy's like a miracle worker. I don't want to disturb his time. Or like we mentioned in the last episode, some artists don't sell their art and they get really offended if you ask them if their art is for sale. So
that's stupid. No one should be offended. I myself, I like when I sell my art, but I don't care if I don't. Like this painting I made for myself, I made it as a way to express aspects of myself, to do something beautiful, and I'd be really sad if it left my living room. If it does leave my living room, it means I got 20 extra G's that I can put on a deposit towards buying an apartment and live a more comfortable existence. So either way, I win. But I don't want to when I put it on my website, I don't want to put it like the price there, because then I'm turning it into like a product for sale, as if my webpage was like a marketplace. I do have an online store with products for tapestries, things that are cheaper that people can buy. But if somebody really, really wants it, they can get over their shyness and write me. And if they don't get over their shyness, then it's not meant to be neither, and it stays in my apartment, making me happy every day. So
I guess you got to realize what's really the final intention of a piece. Is it for you? Is it for medicine? Or is it to sell? And if it's to sell, make it easy for people is what Adam's saying.
100%. I have a total different view when it comes to making my art. When I make my art, I know they're not meant for me. I know in my heart that every piece I make is meant for someone else. So for me, like, how the Buddhists sweep away their mandalas, for me, when somebody makes the purchase and buys that art, that's me sweeping it away. It's out of my life. It's on somebody else's wall. The truth is, time is going to destroy them eventually anyway. Like, they're not going to last 100,000 years. They'll get destroyed eventually. So at that moment in time, when somebody makes a purchase from me of one of my mandalas, like, I know that for me, that's kind of like the completion of the circle. So yes, I do want to make it as easy as possible for people to go from that initial, wow, I love that, to like, yes, I can afford it. Wow, I'm just going to buy it. It's on his website, like, done. They don't even have to message me. A lot of people do message me. I love to chat with people who love my art, but I also love the excitement, because me, and I'm pretty sure you guys too, when you're making art, you're kind of following your what's the word I want?
Intuition.
Intuition, yeah. Am I right? You're following your intuition when you're making art?
I don't know what I'm making next week.
So when somebody's intuition is to react in a positive way to my art, and they want to make that purchase right away, I want to make that easy for them.
Yeah, well, different artists do art for different reasons and with different purposes. You're doing yours, and that's awesome. I commend you. And Germ does his, Ariane does hers, I do mine. And I figure out ways where I can do my art for myself, keep it, and still make money from the image without actually selling the original. Mm-hmm. And my ultimate goal is to still have a good, nice collection of my originals and offer a museum kind of situation at the end of my life, where once I die, people can go to a building and check out all most of my originals.
Let me ask you this then. How long was it before you were able to live off your merch and not have to sell originals? Because me, I have to sell originals, and I love to sell originals.
8 years? 8 years. I still sell originals every now and then, and when I do sell a good one, it's like awesome. But I don't know. It depends on the year. I find selling original art is like the hardest part of my business. Mm-hmm. But once again, my paintings take me months to do. They're very labor, so I have to charge a lot for them, or if not, I'm like insulting myself and my time.
And we're back. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So the point that I was making, that it takes me so long to make a painting, they have to be expensive, so they're harder to sell. So I got to figure out a way to make money from my art.
Well, you dug out some originals and did an auction, got $500. There's some canvases that you do hit that's a of an easier style.
Well, like when I find like old college art from like 15 years ago, I don't mind giving it away for cheaper. And then I got some cheaper paintings, but like say like the current canvas that I'm working on. I don't know if you want to bring the Ganesha here, but that one's been taking me over a month. It's not even a big canvas, but I'm giving it my all. Maybe you want to make the camera see the details into it. So I'm like getting like maybe closer so they can see all the brush strokes.
Don't worry about this. You talk about it.
Yeah, but it takes me so long to get everything just tight and exact and precise, because that's my aim with the art, is to just make it so crisp and beautiful and perfect that then it's really hard to let it go for cheap. So it ended up just with me, but that's fine because I made this Ganesha as a capturing of the energy of my recent India trip, and entity that removes, you know, the
blockages and obstacles.
Rockets and obstacles and negativity. So there's a purpose for this to me. And then, but once I take a professional photograph from it, I'm gonna milk the shit out of it. You know, it'll be t-shirts, posters, prints, etc., and I'll be able to make a lot of money from it, from the people who buy my products, while still keeping the energy with me. And then if somebody wants to buy it, I'll probably ask around $6,000, and then boom, a little bit of extra money. But I didn't make him to make money. I made them because I got extra.
You're giving your all, yeah. You're giving your
Yeah.
all, and that's the thing, that these canvases emit an energy. That's why I love to give originals. I go to enough people's houses and realize that people look like they're about to move. Their walls are empty. You know what I mean?
Oh
it's
man,
just,
that
it's a shame.
depresses me.
Yeah, it's, as an artist, it's the worst thing you could ever see, is people not honoring their own space.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to give them originals because I find that prints don't necessarily have the same energy, and that's why I came to a means to an end, which is figuring out a way to sell something at a price that people want it for without laboring too much.
Well, you got into art recently, and you went with a specific objective and role, and you knew what your magic trick would be and what you wanted to get out of the magic trick, and that's what you're doing. You know, you're doing it in a smart way. Both of you are doing it in a smart way. You know what you want, you see your goal, and you're doing the steps for the objective. My magic trick, if it is one, is I'm just doing what I always had to do since I was a kid. And like yesterday, I'm painting my Ganesha, and I'm like, damn, why does this thing have to take me so long? This makes no sense when it comes to money or productivity and stuff. But then it's like, how else will you do it, Chris? You know you have to do this thing. Like there's no other way. You know you don't want to make it like less beautiful or less potent. You just gotta like do what you gotta do, and then figure out a way to make your money some other way. And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll follow that. But you got in me like, okay, I know I want to do this. So you made art that's like, you can make a painting in a day, or maybe in sometimes more of a painting in one day. And you figured out also what is the art that people like. So you combine what you know people will buy with your own commentary that you want to say, because you got very specific commentaries.
Well, really what I want is to have a very big studio where I can listen to music, invite people over to be more creative. So space not just for my creativity, but for others. And the only way to do that is to become the best artist in Montreal.
Well, the best artist in Montreal, that's...
The biggest, high-selling artist in Montreal.
Leave those terms behind, man. Just be the best germ. Be abundant in yourself. You don't have to beat anybody. You don't have to overshine.
It's not about that. It's just about that the people that spend $10,000 or more for a canvas want to hear that. They want to hear that it's the best investment ever in the world, and you can go to the moon and back, and my art will still be worth the same thing or 10 times more than it was when you left.
Sure,
it's the same investment.
But I don't know. It's
an investment. It's a way to launder money and also invest in it. If you understand that about the art world, then you'll do good in the art world.
Well,
but if you're all about like, look at my technique and I feel like it's worth $12 an hour, the person doesn't care about that. They don't want to hear that.
Well,
that's the old world when you come up, when you're in the grassroots. But when you get to a spot where people are investing their annual taxes, they want to hear that you're confident.
Oh, no. Be confident. Be fucking epic. I just don't want to beat anybody or be better or the best. Because that's a matter of
be the best
taste.
Chris Dyer?
Oh yeah.
So be the
But
best Chris Dyer you can be.
That's what I'm saying. Be your fucking most epic self, and you don't have to outshine any other artist. They could shine too. We could all be these beautiful flowers. You know, like I would hate to put you two guys in competition, or like Germ's better than Adam, or Adam's better than Germ.
Well,
I want
me
both
and
of
Adam-
Are you Team Adam or Team Germ?
No, so I don't want that competition between you guys,
I like
or
competition.
in between.
I like competition too.
no.
I gotta be honest, I was a sales guy for 17 years and I thrive off of competition.
Competition
I'm
can be
not
healthy.
into it.
That's the whole thing. When you view competition as a negative thing, then yeah, better not be competitive because you're wasting your energy. But if it's viewed positively, it gives you a fuel. It's like waiting till the last day to do your test exam. There's a stress that comes that's positive.
If
And you
that,
have to remind yourself not to go full mad and remember that we're all in it in the same way.
At the end of the day-
human, we all love each other, but I still want to sell more canvases than Adam so that I could not hear about how he sold 300 plus canvases.
I guess I don't
You know
want.
what I'm saying?
I don't want to crush anybody because I don't want anybody's feelings to be hurt, and I don't want anybody to crush me because I don't want my feelings to be hurt. And that's what happens in competition. I want him to be among them. I want you to be among them. I want everybody to win, and I don't want anybody to lose.
For me, the competition isn't against Germ so much. Like the competition is a motivation for me. It doesn't have to do with beating him and haha, I'm better than you. I want. It has to do with man. Like it's like playing leapfrog when you're a kid. If you don't leapfrog over the other guy can't leapfrog over you. And that's as a business person and like as an art technique and everything. Look, I'll never catch up to Chris. Chris started making art a long time before me. I'll never be able to paint something like that. I'll be able to paint something in my own style with maybe some skill like that in another 5 to 10 years. But like
Then once again,
skills,
you'll be the best artist. You're not trying to be the
skills,
best
art
artist.
skills, like you know, like and again, that's like it comes to the competition, whether it's sales or whether it's technique or whatever. But like having something to look up to and to aspire to, and like I want to have that level of detail in my art and things like that. It's not like it's a competition, but seeing somebody better than me and being able to emulate them is a blessing. It's not.
Yeah, it's a role model.
Like for some people, when they see somebody succeeding more than them, it crushes them. For me, it motivates me. I want to catch up to them, and because I see somebody else has already done it, I know I can too.
Okay, so in that way, I'm not beating you. I'm just on the same bus. It's like we're all on the same bus. We're all going to the same place. We just got different seats. And maybe I'm on a seat. A better
He's
seat
worried that we're
because
gonna stab him in the back or something.
I'm on a
We're not in a competition, guys.
I'm on a seat that has a better view because I got in the bus a little bit earlier, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait till like.
You showed me the bus. You literally showed me the bus.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
So that's great if you get into competition, but you have a healthy perspective about it. I think that's good because if the ego gets in and you really want to beat that, I think healthy competition where you don't really want to hurt anybody, you just want to like use it as an inspiration.
I want to play the
step
ego's
up.
game, okay? I love the ego's game, but I'm also not a fool to the ego. But the ego likes to love, it likes to get jealous, and it likes to do all these things. So why not do it with finesse? So I love to sell canvases. This man has sold over 300 canvases. I don't want him to stop selling canvases because then I want him to keep selling, but for me to figure out how he's doing it and get closer and closer and closer. If he stops, he'll have nothing left to teach me. But he has a lot of things to teach on how to sell a canvas.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is put your fucking price, dummy, so people know, and that's how you can get to 100
And he-
plus
look,
canvas sales.
Chris
Which is-
said he doesn't post his prices, but Chris has an album on his Facebook where all his prices are listed.
Yeah.
For those who want to buy it. And if they have to kind of specifically send me an email to ask me for the link, because if I make it too obvious,
Yeah, but come in and ask.
if you make it too obvious,
Then come in and
I
ask.
think I don't think galleries will want to work with me if I'm just selling my shit on Facebook. They will be like, like he's selling that stuff, or it makes it too.
I feel like when
obvious.
you're selling, other people will come in and be like,
Yeah, I really
you're
have.
selling? I'd like to sell some of your stuff.
I really have
So
the opposite
sales
opinion
make
on that
sense.
too. But yeah, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to give my perspective on that.
By the way, this is Ariani.
I'm painting over there. Personally, I don't list prices on my pieces, and almost every single one of them sells. I say message me if you're interested, leaving that door open for that person who is interested, but also not discouraging the people that can't afford it. Because I have, people of all ages, up to like 13 to 80, looking at my stuff. So everyone has a different capital, and yeah, I don't know.
one way that I really noticed was a good finessed way was Wizard Skull keeps, when he's done a painting, he just goes around New York and keeps like walking, he keeps showing it, takes a picture. That's gonna make certain people reach out and go, fire! Get it, bud! And that person is the person who's interested. So that person you could then, if you're good at sales, you could walk them down the line and be like, it's this much, it ships for this much. But it's always best to just say, if you're interested, message me, begin the discourse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not in a rush to get rid of my canvas, especially something I just finished doing. And if it took me a year to make, or even just a couple of months to do, it's like you guys were talking about art bank the other day, like how many paintings you keep in your art bank, and you're like, let's get rid of it all. And he's like, no, let's have a nice stash. I like to keep my stash because, for example, if I didn't have a stash of paintings, I could have done that big show in Miami last December. Because I had a big box in my art bank, I was able to rent a warehouse and fill it up with art, and there I could be like, whoa, this painting's crazy and that painting's crazy. Literally, no, it's almost like telling you I'm not selling very much, and that's why I've been keeping these paintings all these years. It's not a very good look, but in their mind, it's like, this guy is insane. He's got all these big paintings. So with that paintings that I'm keeping, I got big cards to play. Like say, a big show happens in a big gallery in New York, which I'm getting invited in SoCo next summer. I still got a couple big paintings that I could send in and make a good impression. If I would have already sold them, then I got nothing to show and I lose that opportunity.
We're talking about something cool here. Let's talk about big art. Big art. What's your opinion about making big pieces, like large, like proportions, big?
Mega paintings is what I call them. Mm-hmm. I feel like I take it's once again, it's strategic. 1 year I'll do a mega painting, the next year I'll do a bunch of smalls or
okay, so you've done a mega painting. Mega is for you is 4 foot or larger.
Mega painting is something like this that
That's
takes me a year to paint.
That's a 4x3 though, that's not that mega if it's in a car.
Well, let's face it, a big painting is a painting that can be a centerpiece in a room. Yeah. This is definitely a piece that can be a centerpiece in a room. Okay. The reason I wanted to talk about this is when you're starting off as an artist in a career, and that's mostly who we're talking to with this podcast, is people who are kind of just building the foundations of their art career. At least that's who I'm talking to. And when I was starting to paint, I painted a lot of small paintings for a few reasons. Number one, big canvases were expensive. I couldn't afford them. Number two, I felt like I would be wasting a big canvas because I didn't have a lot of skill. Number three, like the paint required to cover them is expensive. You want to use a lot of colors on a big canvas. You got to have a big arsenal of paint. That costs a lot of money to invest in, etc., etc. So I didn't make a lot of big canvases. But long term, if you want to make a career out of art, doing big pieces is really important. And there's a few reasons why. Because art investors want big art.
I've had people come up to me and say, show me anything that's 48
or bigger.
Like, what about smaller? And they're like, no, I don't buy that.
Yeah, no, a lot of art,
they literally would not even look at it. Mm-hmm. And they were, in some cases, better.
And a big part of that is because a lot of art, like once you become a well-known artist and once you get like collectors and investors
it doubles
paying
more.
$10,000 or more for your pieces, you're going to start getting businesses that will buy your pieces. You're going to start getting business owners that will buy them for their office. You might start getting corporate clients that want something for the lobby of their office. And
that ain't cheap.
Once businesses are buying your art, they're also buying your art as a tax write-off because they can write it off as a business expense as decor for their office. So once you get into those bigger levels where you're selling art for 5 figures or more, a lot of the times people that are going to spend that kind of money are going to only want big art. They won't be interested in 16 by 20s. They won't be interested in 12 by 12s. So long term, think about making big art because big art is what's going to make a big career.
Okay, so in response to that, once again, you got to be strategic because a big painting takes a long time.
How many murals do you do a year?
Oh, that's a different equation.
Not really. It's a big piece of art.
Yeah, but it's not with spray paint. I can do a mural that's the size of a building in a couple days.
And what is Chris Dyer worldwide known for?
I don't know.
Murals.
His beautiful
Big
hair.
But here's the thing.
Handsome face. Dashing personality.
Skateboard tricks.
Okay, but let me finish my point. I feel you gotta be strategic. big paintings, because if you're spending months on one painting, that means you don't have new paintings to post, to sell. You know, you're putting time into this thing, and then because you put a lot of time into the big paintings, it's more expensive and it's harder to sell. Me, myself, once again, I'm not making art as something to sell. I'm making it because I got something to express. So for me to make a bigger painting, this means I can say more with it. There's more I can express myself through the painting, and if it doesn't sell, I don't give a shit, because I made this for myself, for my living room, or for a mirror of my soul. But yes, when I go to the studio of Alex Gray, he's painting fucking canvases that are gigantic, meaning that his clients are gonna pay like 100 G's because it's a big fucking crazy thing. And that's like my dream, as I want to buy a new apartment. That's one of my goals these days, is so I can have like more studio space to do gigantic canvases, not so I can get more money out of it, though I know it'll be a side product, so I can take my art to the next level of expression, of self-reflection, and then people will be like, wow, Chris went to the next level, now I'm ready to pay, 20, 30, 40, 50 G's for a painting.
Now, I totally agree with what he's saying, but you can go through next level after next level after next level, and if your paintings are still 12 by 12 inches, you're never going to sell them for 100 grand.
Well, I think that's the beauty of this podcast. So you're seeing 4 artists here, and we're each going to have a different story on the tactic we used. You take it with a grain of salt, and you can make your own salad. What I did was I started with
salt on your salad.
I put a lot of salt on the salad.
Ew.
Oil and salt, it's amazing. What I did was I did large pieces first. So what I did when I started was I did exclusively 4-foot canvases, which was, not what anyone would recommend. But it's easier to do the lines bigger than smaller, and learning how to use a brush. So I enjoyed learning how to use a brush bigger and then working my way down. It was easier to stand out when you did a 4-footer. So if you're 12-foot, people wouldn't even notice. Bang. And also getting the style down. The style, if it works at 4 feet, it could work at any other size, but not vice versa. A style that works at 12 doesn't necessarily work at 4 foot. So you get the 4 foot down, and then eventually I started selling enough where I couldn't make 4-footers because I couldn't ship 4-footers. So I started to make smaller ones. Now I'm in the phase where I'm selling smaller ones for more than double what I was selling the 4-foot ones, and making money. It's pretty comfortable, and I'd like to work my way back up to selling the 4-footers, but for thousands.
See, I guess for me, at the end of the day, like Chris keeps saying he doesn't make art for money, and I don't make art for money either, but I make art because I want to live doing my passion.
Money's just as simple. I just want to fucking
put it
make
this way.
art.
I think it goes.
In a big studio.
Without saying.
It's just a
I think it goes without saying that none of us make art just for money. If I made art just for money, I would just paint the word sex over and over on canvases just to see if sex sells.
I literally write that stuff.
But you know what? That's not
Just
why I
seems
make
like
mandalas. But at the end of the day, yes, I have big dreams. I have big goals. I have big visions. I want to create big things that inspire a lot of people and resonate and last after I'm dead. And the things that I want to do are going to cost a lot of money. I want to have a piece of land. I want to have something sort of like Chapel of Sacred Mirrors eventually in the future. All of that costs money. So am I doing art for money? Yes. At the end of the day, yes. I'm doing art for money so you can buy a better world.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the energy within a painting and the entity of a painting. I focus a lot on that. And there's been a couple times where I've made a painting with the pressure of, I need to make money, I need to pay a bill, I need to buy groceries, whatever it may be. And the couple of paintings that I made with that intention of I need to sell this, those were the 2 paintings that took the longest to sell. And the ones that I make that are solely just, without any of that limitation, those sell immediately, sometimes before the painting's even finished or right when the painting is finished. So it's interesting to witness that.
But tell your story of what sizes you use. You tend to use small and sell small.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
They ship well.
Yeah.
But that's because she's
They travel
still learning. She's still defining her style.
Mm-hmm. But I want everyone to know that we're 4 different artists with 4 different techniques.
Yeah. And I can only make big things when I got time to not travel and be in my studio, because I can't just pack this in a suitcase. So lately all my bigger paintings are like the Ganesha I just showed. That's exactly as much as it can fit in a suitcase.
Wood too.
It's wood because it won't get banged up. That's just as big as I can get. I wish I could do that guy way bigger. As you say, or
Easier, yeah.
It's easier to details in there. With that proportions, I got a micro brush and I'm going really little with all these mini details because there's not that much space. If it was a bigger Ganesha, then a normal brush would do. I could actually go quicker. So, and once again, with a bigger canvas, people be like, whoa, that could cover my living room a lot nicer. You can get more money out of the same situation. But I'm on the road a lot. I'm out of service. I'm a missionary of spiritual art, and I'm there serving. So I gotta just.
But we both use that technique at the beginning, which was paint on a big canvas to wow people. It's also a little bit easier, but really it's the fact that this is my painting and it's different.
I'm not doing it to wow anyone. I am doing it to.
Well, have that effect.
Wow.
Neo-Human wowed me.
You're doing it to
If
wow
it was
yourself. Is
To
what
wow
you're saying.
myself.
Okay,
to
but
stoke
I
myself
saw
and that is
Neo-Human when I met you for the first time. You were standing next to Neo-Human. I don't think if it was 16 by 20 if I would have been that impressed.
Yeah. So there's prints and stuff. But yeah, so
the fact that it was
so
like.
if you can do something that's big, like my painting is God of Healing, which is bigger than me. So if a painting's bigger than you, it's like, whoa. So when I do a mural, or a mural that's as big as a building, it could be really like, holy shit, what the fuck. When I did my mural for Mural Festival here in Montreal, it was a 3-story building creature with eyes popping out, and everybody's like, what the fuck's that thing? And for me, it's like, oh, that's not a big deal, because compared to my paintings, it's a simpler, it's a simpler version of Chris, but because it's so big, it's like, whoa, that thing's intense, and it's bigger than me, and you know, the statistics of shroom.
Let's face it,
Montreal
size matters.
And then,
And art it does.
but there also is like many times where I'll see people get wowed over, you know, a small painting because they're like, wow, there's so much fine detail in this tiny space. How the fuck did you do that? You know, like that. Yeah. So there's
it's true.
people of all.
Of course, if they're an artist or an artist by nature, they're gonna freak out when they see the detail. You see certain people like go into Chris's paintings like, whoa.
Well, art, at least in my case, you can only really truly appreciate my art in person.
Every art, that's why I'm talking about how an original is so important. You can have a cool image on your wall, but you've never seen an original. If you think a cool image is where the humanity needs to draw the line and just put fucking cool images on the wall.
And other than the image, I believe in energy. And
There's human hour in it.
When I spend hours, days, weeks, months focusing my energy onto this canvas with intention, with a vision, that energy gets locked out. And
It's shiny shit,
like,
yeah.
I've had people stand in front of my painting and be like, wow, I feel such sweetness coming out of this piece, and then they inject their energy into it, and boom, it keeps on amplifying.
Because there's a certain amount of energy that you have to have and perseverance to do this. You have to like calm yourself and go ritualize it every time and be like, okay, yes, I'm not gonna finish today, but put on a record and and that's the energy that I feel.
For me, it's a joy. It's like I can't wait to do that next thing. But yeah, you wake up the next morning, it's like, wow. It's been months and I'm still not done. This is a little bit frustrating, but like let's keep on going, you know? Like today I'm finishing the Ganesha, and it's been since February. So it's been a month that I've been working.
The serotonin's about to be released, y'all.
Yeah, I'm about to bust a nut on this elephant guy that I started in India.
What do you like after you finish the canvas? Do you like stare at it from around the room, or what do you do?
Today is the day that I look at it. Like I know the last thing I want to do, and then I stare at it for a whole day, and I keep on finding things like, oh, maybe a little bit more brown here, or ooh, a little bit of white here. Like
okay, so you give it another 24 hours.
I give it a little extra day just in case I missed something. But by now I've done all my steps. I've taken it as far as I want to take it. I just gotta finish this really light blue around him. And other than that, I'm just gonna look at him, and then tomorrow he goes out to the professional photographers, get a proper photograph, and then I send them out to my merch people and start making money out of him, and
amazing.
Put him on my wall maybe, or see if I doubt somebody's gonna buy it. But that's
put him out there and write that he removes blockages and and I'm sure someone will realize that and buy him.
The Ganesha saved our asses
but dude, that's like if I had 6,000, I'm buying magic.
Like,
dire magic.
I think 6,000 for that's cheap, but anyway.
Like Ganesha saved our asses in India, and that's why I'm honoring him by like I lost my my phone camera, $800, which you can buy. Footage from my India trip that I do to use my do my adventures. I left it on the back of a little fucking motorcycle tuk-tuk, which once it's gone, who knows where it goes. So I realized it, and then I went back up the mountain. I was like, how am I gonna find this guy? So we asked one dude. He took us to a place where a lot of them hang out. We kept on asking, even though we don't know Hindu. And they all talked to each other, and we found the dude, and he looked in the back of the seat, and he found it, and it's like,
No way.
what?
Nice.
In India.
In
yeah.
India.
Nice.
And that day I had posted a picture of Ganesha. It's like, Ganesha helped me find my camera. Then a couple days later, Ariani was driving a motorcycle. We're in Rishikesh. We're going to the Beatles ashram where we're painting a mural. And she thought it would be the same as driving a car, but a motorcycle has a different dynamic. And she pretty much crashed against a bridge. And the whole front of the motorcycle exploded, but we were untouched, pretty much, unharmed. We could have fallen over the bridge. She could have bashed her head against, like a lot of bad things could have happened, but we didn't get hurt. And I was like, Ganesha is protecting us, is saving us from harm. And that's why I was like, I gotta do a painting to honor him. And that's the energy I'm capturing him. And I've been working really hard lately to like overcome my issues and my blockages. And I feel that's what Ganesha energy is about. May you picture him as an elephant, a Hindu god, or just a invisible intention. It's about like, I want a life without negativity, without
So it's a manifestation.
It's a visual
representation of something that we feel inside. Do you want to bring up one of your blockages right now? Because I feel like it's important to show that you can be a successful artist sitting under a very nice mega painting and still have a blockage. So tell me your blockage right now.
Well, I grew up in Peru. It was a very macho place, you know, and you know, I've had 2 culture shocks. So there's a lot of insecurities in me, you know, like there's a lot of like, oh, I'm not like what the world wants me to be. I'm always this weirdo that, you know, wasn't good with sports. He's kind of nerdy. I got like, you know, weird hair in the view of most people, or like, so I always felt like, oh, I gotta be this person that everyone wants me to be. And then once you get your own confidence, you're like, fuck that shit. I just want to be me. I want to love me with my ups and my downs and my bigs and my smalls and my beautiful and uglies. It does not matter. I am the soul that's inside, and that's just, I'm grateful for it. I'm happy, and I'm living a life of blessings. Fuck what the other world thinks. And that's what we all, like, you know, should live like that. And, you know, and that way we can just accept the blessings and be grateful. And so I've been doing a lot of like ayahuasca ceremonies. I've done a lot of plant medicines to kind of like break those blockages and let go of the negativity. And, you know, traveling and learning and experience. And more and more I just realized, Chris, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be great. Everything's gonna keep on being abundant and blessed, and you just gotta be thankful for it.
And I guess the more thankful you would be, the more blessings will come.
Exactly.
The irony of it all.
It's about changing the code. You know, you change the code within yourself. You change the code in your brain. You rewire your neural net.
Code in your painting.
In your paintings, where you just put out the vibe, and you guys do it too. And then we make a world that's like less fear and more love, and that's how we save the world.
So I'm going to reiterate again when I said that having a successful mindset would make you do successful things because you'll become a successful person.
Yes.
He basically went back to that again.
Yeah, 100%. I personally believe that the attitude you approach your art career with is a lot more important than the art you approach your art career with.
Well, the attitude's going to make the art.
Yeah, the attitude is whatever attitude you present yourself and your art with. Like, I love art, but I don't love all art. Obviously, everyone's like that. You know, there's art I really like and I really resonate with me, and there's art I really don't. If that artist who makes the art that I don't really resonate with is really passionate and blah, 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 they'll connect with their audience. So that's what's important is your story, your passion. Like, everyone gets blocks. I mean, for sure I get blocks. I mean, one of my blocks right now that I'm trying to deal with is like, I honestly feel overwhelmed sometimes with the amount of time and energy and consistency that I spend on social media and my blog and my website. Like, I find it like, because of that like impulse thing, like something will happen where like I'll want to share it right away and I'll post it on one of my social medias. But then when I do that, I'm like, oh no, now I got to post it on all the other 8 and make a blog post and send an email. And that part starts to feel a bit like work sometimes. And that's something I wanted to bring up too. Like, how much of your time as working artist, do you spend actually making art versus working on your business and like booking events and answering emails and messages and dealing with getting
Well, I find that it depends when that happens. If I'm on the road and my mission is painting a mural, I'm spending all day painting a mural. When I'm at home, which is maybe like 30% of the year, I spend a lot of time in my office catching up with all the emails I haven't written and making my deals. But I try my best not to get stuck too much on social media. Like I just do Instagram, and from Instagram it sends to Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and then I got my friends who help me post in other social medias. And then at the end of the day, I check out like how many points they gave me, and maybe like put hearts on the comments, and then just plan the post for the next day, and try not to get stuck on that too much because I want to paint. But the whole goal is that I finish all my emails, I do all my businesses, and then I can spend entire days just painting. Then there's the weekend, and my rule of the weekend is Saturday and Sunday, you just paint, and no emails, no nothing. Yeah, I do my post in the morning, but then forget about it. So, but weekdays, let's get the machine going. Let's make some money. Let's create that freedom to create more art.
But you also just said you spend 70% of your year on the road.
Yeah.
That's 70% of your time that you're working.
Oh, I'm working all the time.
Exactly.
I work 100% of the time. But once again, when say like painting a painting is work, but that's my joy.
Mm-hmm.
And even the emails, like I'm talking to nice people, making money from sharing my passion. That
even traveling and exploring, like that's passion as well.
When I'm going on a trip, we're painting a mural, we're doing a workshop, we're interacting with people, we're sharing the stoke, we're making art. Yeah, it's work, but it's a blessing, If you're following your passions, you'll never work a day in your life, they say.
Yeah. Now, the reason I brought it up is because I'll get artists that look at me and think I'm really successful and know I do it full time, and they'll write me messages about how lucky I am that I get to just sit and paint all day. That's why I brought that up. How much time do you spend painting versus working on your business? Actually creating art versus all the other things that run your business.
Well, look, painting, it will be like after a couple of days, it'll be like, whoa, I really need to paint. Like I have an addiction to it. So it'll either happen with spray paint or with a canvas. But I do a lot of different things creatively every day. The problem is that sometimes I have to sit down and find a way for them to all make sense within the confines of GermDee so that it sells. So now I'm making toys and I'm making shirts. There has to be a way to make sure that they don't go off on an own tangent of exploration.
So how much of your time is spent conceptualizing all that, buying the machines to do that, learning how to run your 3D printer, learning how to do all? That's what I'm getting at. Is like the amount of things that you have to do that are not making art when you're an artist. That's what I'm getting into. All the other things
toys,
you have to learn.
I think the toys are going to sell canvases galore. Do you consider that art in my factoring of numbers? Or only paintings?
Yes, of course. I consider it art, but I also consider like all the other stuff that you had to do before you could even press print. And all the ones that came out that were janky and that you never even showed anybody.
That's all last night till 5 a.m.
It also depends on the person, because like for me, writing an email or like making a social media post, that is another art form for me, because I take writing and photography as art forms as well. So it's all, kind of art and work. I think there's a fine line.
Well, let me finish my point. My point is that I wake up, I work. I may wake up at 10, maybe 11, and I work until 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. until I realize that it's almost sunrise and I have to sleep so that it doesn't fuck up the next day. In those days, there's deliveries involved, there's social interactions involved. This is a mixture of social interaction and business. But to me, all things are business. When I go and hang out at a spot just to show face and to chill with friends, that's business. It's the part of business that if I fucking stay home and don't do, I'll feel it later on. When it's summertime and everyone's partying and they haven't seen your ass for like 12 months, trust, it's felt in the vibe. But if they see you every so often, you run the show. You show up and they're like, it's that thing again. And you're like, yeah, it's that thing. It's business. And you have to take on all aspects of it. If you want to be the best, you have to understand that art is not just pushing paint until it solidifies. It's a lot of things.
Mhm.
And the main thing that it really is inspiring other creative people, no matter what they're doing, to do something.
Mhm.
That's really, I think, the main
The
point of an
inspiring
artist who paints is to even the baker is supposed to look at that artist and go like, I'm gonna make my pastries better.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean that's the reason that I brought it up, because for me, when I became an artist, I mean, like when I started to paint, I really had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea I would need to learn how to become a writer. I had no idea I would need to learn how to become a photographer. I had no idea I would need to learn how to become a website designer and developer. I had no idea I'd have to learn how to speak into a camera. Like all these things that are connected to making a career as an artist, I didn't connect them in my mind as being an artist. And I think that especially young artists that come out of school and things, they spend a lot of time on their technique and making their art better, and they don't spend any time on making their marketing better.
But that's important. Like I still think, and I have a new style coming out, that there's still an avenue to make the art better.
There
so
is.
It still plays
But that
my
should
mind
just
all the
happen
time.
naturally
Yeah,
over
but-
time. You shouldn't
but that's
be
only
racking
one
your
of the
head about it.
things.
You should just be making art.
But that's only one of the many things. But you should always be improving your technique. But if you think it's the be all and end all, no, you're a fool.
Yeah, if you think
because
that-
people literally go like on a canvas, and that's it. They sell that canvas.
Yeah.
What do you call that? German minimalist?
I guess so. Yeah, German minimalism.
Yeah. A point I'd like to bring is like as your business grows, it's important to delegate because it ends up that you have more business tasks than time to do the art, and then you're going crazy because you can't even get to your painting because you got to take care of the merch and all the things that you guys mentioned. So I've been doing this for like 16 years or something. So I've had to, like, at points, Germ was my assistant. So he assisted me with like computer things, updating my webpage, figuring out some toy merch things, etc., etc. Adam helps me with my social medias, a couple of them, Steemit and Minds, and that helps me a little bit save some time doing that. I got a D comes through sometimes, and I got other friends who come and help me like get even some paintings done. And now I got a merch person. I don't even do my merch anymore. I got a dude in Colorado who takes in the orders, talks to the clients, mails out the thing, gives the returns, promotion, etc. So this then allows me, it's like, okay, less homework for me, more time for art.
More freedom.
Yeah, I'm still overwhelmed, and I gotta pay these people for their time. But the more your business grows, the more money you have, the more you can spread it with your artist friends who maybe need a little bit more backup till they get their situation going. And so you get more time, everybody's more sustained.
And consider
in
this:
other
if
ways.
you're at the beginning stages of your art career, I became Chris's assistant because Chris was paying, number one, so you get money, and second, the biggest thing of all, you get to learn.
Hell yeah.
So you get to be there. I got to see what was coming in through the emails. I got to see the back end of the website. I got to see the nitties, the bolts, the nuts and bolts of the whole thing, of the whole machine. And that's where I was able to, with other artists, because you're one of my role models, with other artists, I was able to piece together what I think is the recipe for the perfect cake.
Yeah. So on that point, doing internships with other artists of your city, that you might respect, you can hit them up and be like, hey, I love your art. You seem like you're doing good. Can I be your intern? And being an intern means you're working for free. You're helping them with things to save them time, but then you get to learn from them. So it's like going to school for free.
They're gonna say yes, okay? If the only thing you can really do to not make it lame for them is don't flake. You know what I mean? If you say you're gonna do something, show up and do it. Because I know it's free, but to a degree that's part of the business world, okay? If you say you're gonna say something and then you're not gonna do it because you're doing it for free, you're lame and you're ruining it for other people.
Don't be a Jerry.
Don't be a Jerry, because you're gonna ruin it for that artist who's gonna be like, I don't want to work with interns because they always like get drunk and don't show up.
Yeah.
And then they won't accept the real one. So like,
that was
honor that.
That was my issue. I stopped doing interns at one point because every intern I'd have at the beginning of the first month, they would come regularly, they help me out, and giving me my time to teach them. And then all of a sudden, month 2, they're like, oh, I can't come because I actually got to do a real job, or oh, I can't come. And then they wouldn't come at all. And it's like, man, I just wasted my time training a person, and then they don't even become responsible. And after that, it's like, well, I can't do interns anymore. And that's when I started paying you as a proper assistant, where it's like, well, if I'm giving money, at least they know that they're on the clock. You can't be playing Game Boy You know,
I still was.
He still was. But you know, I got a little bit more like room to be like, okay, this shit needs to get done today, so let's get at it.
Well, I appreciate that more. I wouldn't work. I appreciate that more, that there's a karma exchange and that both people understand it.
Yeah.
But if you're really starting off and you really have an artist that's killing it in your local area and you absolutely want to learn from them, paid internship is the free internship is the best way, but honor it, because like Chris said, it can go awry. So
Personally, for
know that
me,
you're getting something positive. You're getting, and ask questions.
yeah.
If you feel like you're not getting your value, fucking ask mad questions until they tell you to shut up and don't come back.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cool that the conversation went into this, because like I literally just had a person reach out to me and ask if they could come be my assistant last week. So you know, I've never really had an assistant working for me. I had Germ help me out with a couple of things that I didn't know how to do behind the scenes with photography and things like that, and t-shirt designs and stuff. But you know, I've never really had an assistant, and I'm really, really looking forward to it, because I know for me, that's what I need to take my business to the next level. Is I need to start freeing up some of that time. The most valuable resource I have is time, and if I can start freeing some of it up, where it's a good exchange for me and for this person, because like I can't really afford to pay this person with cash money right now, but this person is very willing to trade art or some of my merch. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes. I think that there's going to be a fair exchange for the energy put in from both sides, and you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be money. If you're looking to get an intern and you're an artist that doesn't feel comfortable having people work for you for free, find a fan who likes your art and trade them some art, or trade them a shirt you made, or trade them whatever it is. You know, like
Bro, this guy just gave me a Charmander. This game's crazy. People, having an apprentice is like having a Pokemon. And one day, I will have one. But what I envision is I come into the apprentice's house live, on camera, on social media, and if he's watching TV, break his TV. Because you shouldn't be watching TV if you're my apprentice. You should be working 18 hours a day.
yeah, there you go.
Now back to playing Pokemon.
Honestly, I think he should be the next Apprentice guy, like the TV show. Like, forget Donald Trump. I want to see Germ's version of the Apprentice.
I think that the character that I could manifest to help an artist would be just that. If you come in, I'm breaking your TV. I'll buy the TV again. I'll buy another TV. But for the shock factor, I'm coming in and breaking it, bro. Because you shouldn't be sitting down watching TV if you're at the beginning stages of your fucking art career. Yeah. You think I was playing Pokemon at the beginning? I wasn't, until Pokemon was convenient for the marketing. Now I'm playing Pokemon.
But yeah, like for me, like time is more valuable than money. Like money, like I figured that one out. It's cool, but time, you know, like.
See,
it's like I need more of that. I need to buy it, you know. Like
There you go. That's what I was just gonna say. Is that time is more valuable than money, but with money you can buy time in certain ways. You know, by freeing up your time, by having an assistant, or by freeing up,
or by saying no to the jobs that take away your time.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, when you guys arrived, I was telling you I got invited to this obscure country in Europe called Moldova. And you know, I'm like, okay.
It sounds like a dream, right?
It sounds cool. It sounds like, okay.
Someone's like, hey, I'll fly you out here and hand you money. What's the problem?
Yeah, well, it's my time, you know? So I gotta be like, does the money is okay. Like, I'm not worried about the money, but for me, the reward would more be like, oh, I'm checking out a new country. It's a free trip. It could be fun, but it eats maybe 2 weeks of my time. And in those 2 weeks, I could be doing a new painting at home, or I could maybe be doing some other job closer to home that pays more money, or, you know, just not always being on the road. Like, I don't mean, like, when I get back from a trip, it's a little bit stressful because I got so many emails and office tasks that it makes life a little bit less fun. And I don't want that to be that way forever. But then the next offer keeps on coming. So for me, having money allows me the choice to not take certain jobs that will rob my time.
Mm-hmm.
But keep in mind that what you do begets more of what you do. So by going and traveling and doing murals, more traveling mural gigs come in. So you got to turn down the things that you really don't want to do in this world, But the ones that you do want to do, make sure that you keep them coming because they make sure that more come
Well,
in.
that's where I'm struggling because I love traveling, you know. So for me, it's like, you want to do this thing that you love, or you want to do this thing that you love. So it's such a blessing, you know. What I said, life's just blessings with cherries on top. And I was like, okay, cool, free trip to this random country that could be an interesting experience, or staying at home and painting and having a great time with my love. So you know, it's just, but you get to that point by working super hard, and yeah. So basically, I'm just trying to buy my time, and I buy it with sacrificing a trip or money. That time is of huge value, and yeah, that's my dream, to like just have one. Like, if anything, if I ever was to have a kid one day, I hope that he buys me the time. It's like, well, I got a kid now, I can't travel for a year or two. I'm just gonna stay home and do paintings and be in nature and read a fucking book.
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, like, I don't like traveling. I find traveling very, very stressful. I would prefer to have, like, my long-term goal is to build something that people want to travel to. And that's like my home base, where I have a museum / gallery. Something similar to Cosm is really what I'd like to build long-term. And I don't have the desire to visit the entire world. Like, for me, it doesn't interest me because of the fact I find traveling very, very stressful. I'm comfortable in my home base. That's just the way I am.
Exploring your
I'm still
Like-
gonna take you to Peru one day.
That's awesome. I'd love to go to Peru one day, but I'd love to go to Peru with you and to be introduced to your, like, it's not traveling alone
You'll be
and
safe.
like being
We'll take care of
traveling with somewhere with a friend is a whole other story. But for me, like, going to experience new things and new cultures, and it's like, it's interesting, but I can just open up National Geographic or log on to the internet and do all of that from my
It's not-
from my
See what
house.
I don't.
I know it's not the same.
I
but,
don't.
like,
I don't like.
and that's just like, we're different
Yeah,
personalities.
I don't like traveling
It's fine.
either.
And
Like
I
standing in
agree.
lines,
I
filling out
hate-
passports,
yeah.
dealing with all
Get me
these
to a
people in
location.
uniforms with guns and fucking laws and checking my everything. Like, fuck off.
I think get me to a location and then let me stay there for a month. I don't like sitting on buses and
Yeah.
moving. Moving is such a waste of my time.
That's how I
But
feel.
it's interesting. The most interesting thing is that's not. I don't relate with you on that. What I relate is that's your passion,
Mhm.
and you somehow figure out a way to make it sell more art. And that's where my mind cues in and goes, that's very interesting, because no matter what your passion is, you like flying a dirt bike over junkyard cars, there's a way to make that sell more art. So use your trinary, tertiary, and other word for the fifth thing, passion, and bring it into your art marketing, and realize that that's another avenue to relate with people. You relate through skateboarding, through travel, through nappy hair, and art, okay? And the people come in through those veins to form the pond that is Cristara, that hopefully one day will be a sea that will connect to the ocean.
Doesn't the sea connect to the ocean? But on the biggest, artist statement that I have
The Dead Sea
about why
doesn't.
I do my art is because I want to make the world a better place. So when I'm looking at this Moldova offer, I can be like, look, Moldova is the poorest country in Europe. It's very obscure. Maybe I go there and do a mural, I'm making a lot of people happy. So that's a big, like, hey, that could be the tipping point of like, yeah, go and do the thing. You know, like, it's your time, it's your money. But it's like, it's a interesting experience and you're making people happy. So I think I just might do it in the end. And, that will sacrifice, half of July, summer Montreal. And, there's always the next year. I'm still young and, yeah. It's all blessings and gratitude.
When
your art will stay up for hopefully many, many years. And
Yeah. It means something to people. So that's important.
Oh, I think that there's definitely a great positive impact of what will happen when you go to Moldova, but it'll basically bring on more traveling gigs, which me and Adam fear. So if you're listening to this, make sure you think long term. I think this is a big issue with a lot of people when I ask them what their plan is. If you can't think outside of this week, you ain't making it out of this week alive. You gotta think 5 years, 10 years. Have that goddamn plan ready.
Oh yeah, that's very important. For
Have
me.
it ready so that when you see the things that begot that 10-year plan, you know it and you go, that's the fucking jam. What I want 10 years, and faster would be better, buy some mystery boxes, would be a factory that makes toys that is a cool place for artists to hang out, and most creatives will want to flock there just to have the vibe, just to be fucking that contagious vibe of when you go there. It's the muse. You know what I mean? It's gonna be, the ideas are gonna flow because I'm making the temple for that. And I think you've literally talking about that too in Costa Rica. I just realized that the temple. Anyways, my point being, for me to have that happen, it has to be local vibes. It has to be cells of large canvases. And you're one of the role models that made me realize that you teach me a lot of positive things. The only negative thing you've ever taught me was that if you travel too much, you won't be able to do the dream, this is why I'm talking to myself in this sense. But if I traveled too much, I would not be able to do what I came here to do, which was make the temple for creativity in Montreal, which is going to blow minds.
Well, once again, you gotta know your goals. You gotta know what you want. I also want to build a temple, a museum, as I said.
In Peru, yeah, we all want to. It's so strange.
Well, it's positive pods of creativity and spirituality.
Yeah.
To keep on being places for people to do pilgrimage and know that there's this place to sustain them. So it's totally logical. For me, I'm putting that for my 60s. Right now, I'm only 40. I got 20 years. In the meantime, I feel like I'm some kind of like missionary that's going around and dropping bombs of light in all these places while absorbing that culture, which for me feeds me, And I was just in India for like a whole month at the beginning of this year. I'm like fat of how much inspiration and culture and energy that I just saw. And right after that, I went to Mexico and had more experiences. So for me, like these travels really feed me, and I don't mind going more places and learning more and creating more puzzle puzzles that get into my art and make my art unique and multicultural.
Puzzle puzzles?
I definitely see that. I definitely see that when you go on a pilgrimage, you come back a different person, and it shows in the art too.
Yeah, totally. It helps my evolution, and then it helps my art evolution. But yeah, I do also want to have a more stable, maybe in Peru or in Montreal, maybe Valhalla, who knows. I want to have that pod center that unites people. But, I'll do that later when I decide to become an adult and have kids and stability and not move so much. For now, I already was married for 10 years and I couldn't travel. Now I'm in the second youth mode where I'm I want to see it all while I still can. The world's my oyster, let's enjoy it and then come back and do more work. But I never stop working. It's just different kinds. And all these murals are like sketches to the bigger paintings I hope to do in some future.
So the takeaway is do your passions. Make sure your passions can be used for marketing for your art. He wants to travel, he wants to be using that.
Make sure they can. They all can. It's just sharing your own personality.
But don't think it doesn't. Some people, they go on vacation and it's a vacation.
Yeah, they
from everything.
Yeah.
Bro, if you're doing your passion, there ain't no such thing as a vacation.
Mind you, I understand taking a social media vacation every once in a while. It's healthy.
Sure.
Disconnect for a week and just be like, yo, no, I'm on vacation.
Sure, to think about how you could do it better when you come back.
Yeah.
So you're still working on that vacation.
Yeah.
You just need to take a break in order to think properly on how you're going to come back.
How about just doing one post in the morning and then putting your phone in some other room of the...
Yeah, I post once a day.
Yeah, and then forget about it. Like I did my post this morning, put the phone down, went back to sleep, and I'll do stories here and there for fun. I'm not so... that's the next interviewer.
So I think basically the real goal is make sure you touch base on social media. But I think we got out of that whole world, and I think I'm seeing a lot of it outside. We abused it. Yeah, when it came out, we abused it as a society in general, and I think people are definitely wising up to the fact that we were abusing it.
Yeah, don't let it suck you in, but also milk it for what it is. It's like a free resource that's a fucking gift.
And we're connecting to each other. Yeah. We connected in real life, all of us.
Email was a gift.
But all the
social media was a super gift, and I'm milking it while it lasts before it disperses too much. At one point, everybody's gonna be on different social medias. It won't be like everybody's on one. Everybody's on Facebook. Everybody's on MySpace. Everybody's on Instagram. At one point, everybody's gonna be on different ones, and you won't be able to connect with everybody anymore. So while it lasts, milk it, and always have some kind of perspective to know what's the next thing and what's the next game. And
I think the next game, and I keep saying this, is the local real world, the RL. So make sure that you're going to live events, make sure you're networking with people, because they're the ones that tell other ones to go on social media to check out that fucking jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get back to painting, but I want to say one last thing. When it comes to dreams, goals, and success, you know, it's ultimately up to you how you want to define that. You can define it with a very specific set intention of, oh, I want to build this thing, I want to have this much money, this and that. Or you can leave it open to the universe and just be like, I see success and my goal as this feeling of freedom. And then, you know, by doing that, as I paint with my painting of this intention of the end goal being freedom, the universe knows that, you know, in order for me to have that, it'll bring this money into me so that I continue having that feeling and be able to pay for my food and live in this state of freedom. And yeah, and that carries on for, you know, everything. It allows my life to be more open and spontaneous.
I think your outside world is a manifestation of your inside world and beliefs. So it's why it's important to have even the 10-year plan.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of comfort, gives you a sense of confidence, and that's manifesting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And personally, for me, I feel that when I set a specific goal like that, that is very like, I want it to be this color, this size, this, that, and that for my goal. Sometimes it limits the possibilities of what could actually happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, little do you know, you could be getting way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you're missing out because, yes, you're still getting what you desire, but little do you know, your desire is way smaller than your actual capability.
That's the fun part of the riddle, right? Like, you'll go in thinking like, okay, The Secret, I watched it, I saw it on Oprah, I just have to wish for more money.
Yeah,
But what if you wish for success and wealth? If it does work, let's imagine it does work. Why don't you wish for success and wealth? Because that begets money, women, and cars. Money just has money. And you gotta spend it to get the women and cars. And then you won't have money. So then the women's and cars will leave.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, but materialism doesn't bring happiness, you know. Happiness is a feeling of peace, of just being comfortable with your situation. And of course, money can help you have a warmer home and a comfortable couch.
But I think it comes after.
Nobody wants like the stress of like, oh, I gotta pay rent, I don't have that. That can take away that peace. But once you have that peace, you don't need like a million material possessions in order to bring that to you. Like, you just gotta kind of like be comfortable and happy with yourself, and you know,
I mean,
expand that.
For me, like a big motivator for me was the very first time I walked through the doors of Cosm. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was at home. It's a really hard feeling to even express. I don't know how to explain it. It was the first time in my life that I ever felt like I belonged somewhere. It was the first time in my life where I felt like the people that were around me understood me. It was the first time in my life I felt where the people that were in that environment were non-judgmental, and like I don't even know how to explain it. The way I felt when I walked into that place for the first time changed my life, and it made me feel worth something. It made me feel like what I was doing was part of something much bigger.
Is that why? That's why you're inspired to make content?
And that's why I'm inspired to make my own temple. I want to call it Tazam, Temple of Sacred Mandalas.
The true bootlegger over here.
Yeah. But I actually told that to Allison and Alex Gray, and they kind of laughed and said, "Do it." But I don't know if they'd remember that. It was a 1-minute conversation at Rosie's workshop. But you know, for me, giving other people, other weirdos, other artists, other people who took psychedelics when they were teenagers and their families couldn't understand what just happened to them and how they became this different person overnight. And you tried to talk to your friends about it, and your friends weren't on the same trip, and they were drunk, and they're like, dude, you're fucking weird, man. You're talking about all the spiritual stuff and out of body and da. You're crazy. For me, that's kind of what happened. I went through some psychedelics in my youth, and then like people started treating me like I was crazy because I wanted to talk about these amazing experiences that I had, and no one in my immediate life could resonate with that or understand that. And that's why I got into visionary art. That's why I found out about Alex Gray. That's why I found out about Chris Dyer, because it made me feel like I wasn't alone. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't alone, and that I had a family outside my real family. And that's why I want to build Tazam, because I want to give people that don't feel like they have a home.
Well, I want to say one thing here.
Community is important.
I just learned that you want to make a temple, you want to make a temple, and I want to make a temple. And I think that's the underlying trait that a successful artist has, is they have an underlying future belief in the back fueling it all that you don't necessarily know about. You think you're just fucking making art for the sake of making art, but the truth is you're going around dropping truth bombs around the world in order to make a museum at the end as the final chess piece, checkmate on the world.
I know my art, like what I do is not about my art. My art is just this mask. It's like the cheese that I use to pull people towards its energy. That's not my energy. It's the energy behind me. It's the energy of the creator God that flows through me, that wants they're ready to get there through themselves. And my art's just like, oh, listen to this thing so I can put you closer to your path. To
Close, but not giving it to you because then it wouldn't count.
And those museums or centers or pods that we want to create is just places where people can nurture that. They can find a community to find their comfort, finding their path towards connecting to that oneness inside us all, that I hope all of humanity can achieve in our lifetime, ideally, so that we can really save ourselves from self-destruction and live a beautiful existence as God's made into physical flesh existence, you know?
I brought it up because it's not an easy thing to say, but you have to find something that makes you live larger than yourself, an altruistic purpose, and that will give you untold energy, because a human only has a certain amount of voltage. The universe, if you're doing its work, you're saying the thing behind you, it has untold energy to give you. In fact, it'll make you stronger to fuel you with more. And since I've known you, you've got stronger and have more voltage. And I think it's part of the process that you're going through, is to finally, like, if it gave it to you all at once, I think you would die. You'd probably combust into flames.
I've had moments like that. In ayahuasca ceremonies, I've had time where it electrocuted me, and I felt my body was just gonna go into some kind of like heart attack situation because it couldn't handle the amount of energy it was throwing from me. But it was just like putting so much energy in me that I would have to just expand in like the capacity of how much energy I could transfer through me. Same with the bufo frog in Mexico like a month ago. It was like this huge expansion of how much could go through me. And now that my psychic body is bigger, I got more capacities for bringing forth energy to feed people, to feed myself, and to get them to find their own sources of feeding from the eternal energy of non-physical existence, if we want to put it like that.
So if you didn't think that Arty Time was spiritual and it was just about partying and artying, well, you were wrong.
These guys are two very beautiful spiritual artists, and they're focusing more on the business side of things because they care about you and they want you to liberate yourself. And once you're liberated, you will be able to find more time to connect yourself with whatever you think is yourself. But I think that's the ultimate goal that every human comes to do, is to say, like, who the fuck am I? What the fuck am I doing? You know, and find that happiness in it.
So let's end with that. Who the fuck are you, and what the fuck are you doing? One-liner.
Well, like, I can't do that in a one-liner, but the way I wanted to end it with what my thought was, like, I think that hopefully every artist that watches our podcast knows they have a spiritual mission behind their art, or like a meaning behind it. So, like, personally, I don't think that it's my place to tell you how or what that meaning should be to you. But at the end of the day, if you want to turn your art into a career, I think I'm the guy that can help you with a lot of practical advice on how to do that.
So he's Adam Millward, and he can help you with the practical advice on how to sell your art. Chris?
What's the question? Who
the
am
fuck
I?
are you, and what do you do?
Well, as Peter Tosh would say, I am that I am.
It's Chris Dyer, and he is who he is. I'm GermDee, and I'm going to be the very best that no one ever was.
I play Game Boy.
It's a Pokemon reference.
Okay.
Yeah, you're too old for that.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm too old for that.
Don't
get
great
the Pokemon.
Pun, and a bring back to my earlier joke.
Marianne, your turn.
Oh, this is so hard. I guess I'll just leave it as, right now, I am Ariani, and I like to think of the way we work as the creator operating as a system through us.
Nice. I love that.
And, you know, we each have our own unique tone to it, and you can see it in all of our art, but it's really coming from the same source. So. and continue living through, you know.
Until we have that temple, and then you can visit all 3 on your pilgrimage.
Even if you're a Jerry, you're connected to that source. So ask the source to stop making you be a Jerry.
Who's Jerry?
You didn't watch our episode 4.
Okay, let's end this.
Let's end this so Chris can watch episode 4. We have to stop this or else it's too much to watch. Party time. Excellent. Okay, we'll practice.
Already on by.